You have been lied to from the moment you opened your eyes in this world. Conditioned like a machine, trained like a mule, told to work hard, stay quiet, follow orders, save pennies, retire at 60, and somehow call that a life. But listen to me now with absolute intensity. That is not a life, that is a slow, polite execution carried out over decades. A system that steals your youth up front and kills your dreams in monthly installments. A trap so clean, so silent, so socially accepted that most men walk into it with a smile, never realizing that they are walking toward a cage with the door wide open, thinking it's a home. But I am telling you right now, with the fire of truth burning through every word, that you were not born for obedience. You were not born to repeat the same day 20,000 times. And you were not born to trade your irreplaceable years for a paycheck that barely keeps you breathing. You were born to command, to conquer, to build, to become a force that bends life to your will. But that version of you will never appear as long as you cling to the lie that hard work alone will save you. Because hard work only matters when it builds your vision, not when it fuels the machine of another man. You think you're free because you can choose your lunch break or the color of your shirt. But freedom is not in choice, it is in ownership. And ownership begins in the mind before it touches your hands. And until you question the path you've been sold, you will die worshiping a system designed to drain you, use you, exhaust you, and then toss you out with a handshake and a pity pension. They want you quiet, tired, compliant, comfortable, predictable. A man who never rebels, never questions, never thinks. A man who mistakes exhaustion for purpose and routine for destiny. A man who calls sacrifice, duty, and fear responsibility. A man who clocked in at 20 and woke up at 65 wondering where the hell his life went. But I am here to drag you out of that hypnosis, to rip the blindfold off your eyes, and force you to confront the reality that you have been serving a lie. A beautifully packaged lie, a socially applauded lie. A lie built to keep you grateful for crumbs, while the architects of the system feast on empires. And here is the darkest truth: you've participated in your own chains. You cooperated with your own imprisonment, because they taught you to fear risk, fear independence, fear wealth, fear ambition, fear disobedience, fear your own power. And while they filled your head with caution, the rich filled theirs with certainty, vision, faith, and deadly precision. Carnegie didn't become Carnegie by waiting 40 years for a pension. Ford didn't become Ford by praying for job security. Rockefeller didn't rise by obeying instructions. These men were not servants to the system. They were architects of it. They learned the laws of wealth while others memorized the rules of survival. They built ownership while the world built excuses. They understood the ruthless truth that money obeys thought, not labor, leverage, not loyalty, strategy, not sweat. The worker digs holes. The thinker owns the land. The worker swings the hammer. The owner sells the steel. The worker sweats, the owner scales. But here is the most brutal part. You could have been the owner. You could have been the commander. You could have been the architect of your own destiny. But no one taught you the laws. No one gave you the blueprint. They taught you compliance, not creation, memorization, not imagination, survival, not sovereignty. And now, you sit here wondering why effort hasn't given you freedom. It's because effort without direction is slavery. And direction without ownership is obedience. And obedience without purpose is death by routine. But I am not here to pity. Why? I am here to reforge you. To ignite the version of you that refuses mediocrity. The version who understands that ownership is the only path to freedom. And that until you claim your mind, define your mission, and build something that outlives your labor, you will remain a servant dressed as an employee. So understand this law. You do not escape the system by working harder. You escape by thinking sharper, moving smarter, and creating something that multiplies without you. Because if you don't build your own vision, you will forever serve in someone else's. So affirm this now with the ferocity of a man breaking chains in real time. I do not sell my life for crumbs. I build for ownership. I build for freedom. I build for legacy. And now, with that fire burning inside you, we move forward into the second half of your awakening, because this is only the beginning. You were told to wait for the right time. Wait for the perfect moment. Wait for permission. Wait for approval. Wait for life to become easier. But here is the truth. Most men never realize until their final breath. Waiting is the quiet executioner of dreams. And the man who waits is already dead long before the coffin closes. Because every day he delays, he hands another piece of his potential to the world. Until nothing remains but regret wearing the mask of responsibility. Society told you that patience is a virtue, but patience without movement is paralysis. And paralysis is just death in slow motion. And if you think I'm exaggerating, look around. Look at the men who spent their youth hoping, their middle age coping, and their old age praying that the system they served will somehow save them, even though it never has. Men who waited until retirement only to realize they have no strength left to enjoy life. Men who waited for courage but never acted. Men who waited for clarity but lived in confusion. Men who waited for opportunity but died in the same place they were born. Men who mistook hesitation for wisdom and ended up serving the bold simply because the bold moved while they stalled. And let me tell you something, with the force of a hammer, The world does not reward intelligence, morality, kindness, or hope. It rewards decisive movement. It rewards the man who steps into the arena while others analyze it. It rewards the man who acts when others the man who builds while others doubt, the man who risks while others retreat, the man who refuses to kneel before the illusion of security and instead builds his own certainty, brick by brick, decision by decision, hour by hour. You keep thinking life will wait for you, but life moves at war's speed, and the ground you hesitate on will be conquered by the man who moved 5 seconds faster. And one day you will look around and realize that every dream you delayed has been built by someone who started with less talent, less intelligence, less time, less confidence, but more aggression, more fire, more movement. Understand this. Your delays are the chains that keep you serving men who decided faster than you. Your excuses are the tools used by your mental jailer. Your hesitation is the rope tied to your own potential, and every day you delay, you are silently choosing servitude over sovereignty, not because you lack ability, but because you lack decision. The universe bends to the man who acts with conviction. It fears the man who moves with clarity. It respects the man who refuses to live in the waiting room of life. And if you think greatness comes through planning alone, you're wrong. Greatness is carved through violent action in the midst of fear, uncertainty, chaos, and darkness. The man who becomes unstoppable is not the one who studies forever, but the one who studies and moves, the one who learns and strikes, the one who doubts but still advances, because action is the sharpening stone of belief, and belief is the fuel of empire. Look at Lincoln, Carnegie, Ford, Edison. They were not perfect thinkers. They were perfect movers. They acted when others were frozen. They decided when others feared consequences. They advanced when others waited for permission, and because of this, history remembers their names while the obedient majority vanished into dust. And now listen closely, because this is the part men skip, the part that divides slaves from commanders. Identity. You cannot rise until you tear apart the identity that has kept you serving, complying, obeying, and repeating the same cycles disguised as duty. The man who refuses to serve becomes the one who commands, not because of wealth, not because of talent, but because he decides to become the kind of man who commands himself first. Self-command is the highest form of freedom, because once you rule your mind, no job can enslave you, no system can limit you, no man can intimidate you, and no environment can contain you. The world bows to the man who has mastered his own internal army, his thoughts, his discipline, his habits, his certainty. But if you remain a man who needs motivation, needs approval, needs reassurance, needs comfort, then you will forever be a soldier in someone else's kingdom. The first war is the war inside your mind, the war against your old habits, your weak identity, your fear-driven routines, your excuses masquerading as strategy. You cannot build wealth, power, or legacy on the foundation of hesitation. You must kill the version of you that was trained for servitude, the version that wakes without purpose, moves without intention, works without ownership, and obeys without resistance. That is the version that keeps you at the bottom of the pyramid, while the decisive rule from the top. So write your definite chief aim, not tomorrow, not later, not someday, now. Define the life you demand from the universe. Speak it aloud with force. Carve it into your subconscious with repetition. And then build the rhythm of a commander. Morning command, midday alignment, evening review. This is how you seize control of the subconscious forces that govern your results. This is how you rewire the internal machinery that produces your destiny. This is how you crush the habits that keep you enslaved and replace them with the structure that builds empires. And never forget this. If you wait, you will work for the man who didn't if you hesitate. You will serve the children of the man who didn't if you pause. Your dream will be built by the man who didn't, and your name will not be on it. This world is merciless to the slow, brutal to the weak, and generous to the decisive. The man who refuses to move will be trampled by the man who marches. The man who avoids risk will be ruled by the man who takes it. The man who chooses comfort will be commanded by the man who chooses growth. The man who avoids fear will kneel before the man who walks through it. The man who hesitates will die in the shadows, while the man who acted owns the light. And so this is your dividing line, your final gate, your moment of transformation. Refuse to serve. Refuse to live as a follower. Refuse to obey mediocrity. Refuse to die as an employee. Refuse to surrender your years to the system that feeds on your hesitation. You were born to command, born to build, born to carve your name into the world with force, precision, discipline, purpose, clarity, and unstoppable motion. Speak your oath now. I will not be a slave to fear, routine, or wage. I was born to command wealth, not work until death. I rise, I build, I move, I conquer. And from this moment forward, let your actions burn this truth into your destiny.